The year is 1788, roughly, give or take, according to most records. Dr. William Belkam and Mrs. Marianne Belkam welcome into the world Mariana Percy Belkam, eventually to become Mrs. Lawton, but we'll get to that sad story later. Mariana was of 6 children, 5 girls and 1 boy. I'll break it down for you quickly, we have a lot to discuss. There's Henrietta Willan, aka Harriet, marrying Colonel Alexander Milne to become Mrs. Milne. She's a feisty one, look up Langton Lovefest 1820. Next is our girl Mariana Percy. Then we have the prodigal son, Henry Stephen, aka Steph. He followed in his father's footsteps and became a physician with a focus on mental health. Also, the sole hope of carrying on the Belkam family name. No pressure or anything. Next, we have Eliza, aka Ellie, who married Reverend Michael Miller, sometimes referred to as Mrs. Miller. Rounding out the basketball team is Louisa Maynell Travis. Good old Lou. She somehow ended up rich without marrying. That's a good one to research. And finally, 6th man, Sarah Ann Sherson, aka Nance, and sometimes referred to as Anne. And there you have the starting lineup of Team Belkam. Now, fast forward to 1812, and as most people know, Mariana meets Miss Anne Lister. As fascinating as this story is, we'll skip that for now and focus on the other lesser-known, but equally fascinating areas of Mariana's life. Being the daughter of a doctor with 4 sisters, Mariana has little choice but to succumb to the pressures of society and her family and marry Mr. Charles Bourne Lawton in 1816. Cue the Imperial March. Going back to 1816, Mariana begins her life as Mrs. Lawton of Lawton Hall. Not too shabby. She could have done much worse. According to Mariana, Charles wasn't that bad. Besides his and her adultery and having nothing in common and the small 15-year age difference, by all accounts, they had a happy marriage. But Mariana didn't wait around feeling sorry for herself, waiting for the day she could be with Anne. She dedicated herself to the many philanthropic endeavours in and around her community. She started the Blanket Club, providing blankets to the poor at the nearby salt works, eventually building Whitney Cottage as a lasting endowment to her cause. She established a school for the children in and around Lawton, in time opening an infant school with a head count of over 95. She also worked with Anne Walker to ensure servants across the UK had proper employment with satisfied employers. She travelled extensively throughout the UK and the continent, sometimes with Anne, but often with Charles. Although considered a saint, Mariana's life was not entirely free of drama. In 1839, Blanketgate rocked the community. A shipment of blankets sent from Mariana via Charles to Reverend Ford did not make their intended destination. When Mariana began asking the townspeople why Mr. Ford had not delivered her blankets, the claws came out. Mr. Ford claimed that Mariana accused him of stealing the blankets and threatened to sue her for defamation. The drama became so intense that he left the parish, much to Mariana's joy. Side note, according to Mariana, he was stealing money from the church, so there's that. Christmas 1834. But in the words of Celine Dion, love doesn't ask why. After Charles's death in 1860, Mariana decided to vacate Lawton Hall. As she had not produced an heir, the hall and estate transferred to the ownership of Charles's nephew, John Lawton. Mariana moved to London to live with her sister Lou in Belsize Park. Somehow, by currently unknown means, Lou acquired substantial wealth over the years. Their sister Eliza and her husband also lived nearby in the same neighbourhood. On October 31st, 1868, Mariana Percy Lawton passed away in her home at the age of 80. The following year, Eliza passed, and then in 1870, Lou, the last Belkam standing, passed away. What sort of events happened during those last 8 years of Mariana's life? What sort of adventures did the sisters have? The answers to these questions could be sitting in a box on a shelf somewhere right now. All the details of Mariana's story were found in the archives. Letters, records, legal documents. Imagine how many other women's stories are just waiting to be told. Explore your archives and help tell her story so we can update history.